What's up, self-healers? Lisa Lightfeather here. Welcome to my channel, Closing the Gap. We make a conscious effort to meet you where you're at on your healing and your spiritual journey. Today, I will be speaking on the topic of the ebb and flow of Kundalini. Yes? So for those of you who do not know, a quick overview of what Kundalini is. So the term Kundalini means she that is coiled. Yes? And so Kundalini resides in every human being, and it resides in the root chakra at the base of the spine. It resides there coiled up until it is activated, until it is ready to awaken. Yes? So here in the West, we don't know a lot about Kundalini. In the DSM-5, it refers to Kundalini as a spiritual emergency. Yeah, they just refer to it as a spiritual emergency. And you'll find out here shortly why Kundalini can be considered a spiritual emergency, yes? So they are slowly but surely acknowledging that this is a real thing and this does happen in real life, right? And so Kundalini lies dormant at the base of the spine, coiled up akin to a snake. What are chakras? Chakras are energy centers within the body. Today, there are several energy centers within the body, but today we'll be speaking on basically the basic 7 chakras that every human being has, from the base of the spine to the crown of the head. Yeah. And then nadis. Nadis there's like 72,000 nadis, but they run all over the body. So nadis would be akin to, like, let's think of them as wires that send electricity or send energy to the chakras. Yeah. And so the chakras are basically they process this energy. Now, speaking from a spiritual perspective, or speaking from a physical perspective of what I've experienced, so within each one of these chakras, we hold our trauma, we hold our experiences in these chakras. The term chakra means spinning wheel, right? And so when the chakras are clear and clean and whole and healthy, they spin. Yep, they spin in a clockwise manner. Now, chakras can also spin the opposite way, meaning that it's out of balance in some way. So it needs to spin in a balanced way. And so Kundalini's goal is to clear these chakras and assist you in your healing and have them spinning in a healthy manner, right? So if we hold all of our trauma in our chakras, you can imagine what this can be like when Kundalini starts winding her way through the chakras and breaking up that trauma, right? So we're not going to go into too much detail about what each chakra holds and where trauma is held at, but I can give you a quick scenario of maybe heartbreak being held in the heart chakra. Yeah, maybe sexual trauma being held in the sacral chakra, maybe homelessness or being without food held in the root chakra. So life's traumas are held within these chakras, and the way that I describe it, or the way that I envision it, is that the more trauma that a person's been through, the more blocked that individual's chakras are, right? So what causes a Kundalini awakening? There are several things that can cause a Kundalini awakening, yes? And so the way that mine was originally activated was through meditation. I was still in the military. I was trying to find holistic ways to cope with my PTSD that I had at the time. And so I started meditating. Yep, I started meditating, and that's when the term chakra came to me. I knew nothing of it, but it came to me. One person mentioned it to me prior. They're the ones that suggested that I start meditating, but I became overly interested in what these energy centers were. Yeah, so mine was activated through guided meditations. Yeah. If you're interested in some of those meditations, this guy is he's been out there forever, but his name is Paul Santisi, and he has 3D meditations on chakra balancing. So, but that's how mine was activated. Now, remember, there's a belief that you don't choose Kundalini, that Kundalini chooses you, right? So another way that Kundalini can be awakened is through yoga, through opening up the body, through the stretching, right? It can be awakened through a powerful sexual encounter. Yes, one can can say that Kundalini can be contagious, but not in the way of a virus or a disease or anything. But if one encounters a powerful sexual encounter with someone who has already had a Kundalini awakening, that person can activate the Kundalini in the other person. This can also happen if you have an instructor or a teacher of some sort or a mentor of some sort who has had a Kundalini awakening, and it can be transferred to the students. Yeah. So it can be transferred through a powerful sexual encounter. A Kundalini awakening can be activated through plant medicine. So with peyote, San Pedro, ayahuasca, shrooms, Kundalini can be activated through working with these plant medicines really heavily. Yeah. Now there is a caveat to the plant medicine one, because the plant medicine one will speed it up. Will speed up the Kundalini awakening, and this can be pretty traumatic, especially here in the West, because there's not a lot of help for individuals who go through a spontaneous Kundalini awakening. The best way to open up Kundalini is through meditation, through yoga, and it's coming through you slowly. Yeah, it's paced. It's a process. Okay, and so in my experience, I activated my Kundalini through meditation, and then it sped up through working with plant medicine. Yes. So the Kundalini being activated through meditation is what led me to plant medicine to begin with. I knew nothing of it before I started meditating, right? So it was like a spiritual message that was given to me that led me to plant medicine. It's very strange. It was very, like, I can't even explain it here on this video, but I was making jewelry and stuff with the ayahuasca vine before I even knew what it was. And so weird stuff like that will happen to you when Kundalini starts working. It's going to lead you to what you are called to do. That's all I'm going to say about that right now. Kundalini can also be awakened through something such as an accident. You're in a car wreck and the back gets jolted, and it activates Kundalini. Or it can be activated through a surgery, like having a back surgery or a neck surgery. Kundalini is activated in every single woman in a slight way every month at her menstrual cycle. It gets activated. It gets awakened, like a gentle awakening. Yeah. This is one of the reasons I think some women have such strong PMS, because it's activating, it's triggering the certain things. Of course, to include the medical or scientific ways of the hormones being tampered with. Yeah, and so a Kundalini awakening can happen during the time of giving birth. When my daughter was giving birth to my twin grandchildren, I was there with her. We went into a portal together. I was right there with her as she went through this portal of this. It's almost like we jumped timelines together. Yeah. 24 hours later, it felt like we'd been in the hospital for months. It was crazy. It was weird stuff like that can happen with Kundalini energy. Kundalini can also be activated during menopause. When a woman stops her cycles, when she stops having her monthly cycles, the Kundalini can awaken during that time. This is why a lot of times you'll see the women that have a little age on them that are really into their spiritual practice. They're really deep into it because Kundalini has been activated. Yes. Some symptoms physically. Now, this is the physical. And we're here to talk about the ebb and flow of Kundalini after Kundalini has occurred. Yeah. If you want to know more about some of the stuff that happens with Kundalini, I have plenty of videos that I kind of helped walk you through my Kundalini experience. You can look at those. But we'll touch on some of those topics here today. So some of the symptoms that are, I got to get better equipment. Anyways, some of the symptoms that can happen with Kundalini are vibrations through the body. Yes. Vibrations in the feet and the hands and the scalp that are so intense you just want to scratch your skin off, or you scratch a bald spot in your head because it's just like you're just constantly, it just tingles at the crown. Yeah. Some other symptoms are a very real bad sore throat, or stuttering, or your voice just cutting off. You know, that's when Kundalini is going through the throat chakra. Yeah. when the vibrations are going through the hands, the feet, and the scalp, these are the nadis. The energy is going through the nadis and connecting to the chakras. The hands are connected to the heart chakra, you see, and the feet are connected to the root chakra. And so Kundalini is going through these energy centers and breaking it up, yeah? Some other physical symptoms can be involuntary movements, like one can go into an involuntary yoga pose, or they start doing mudras with their hands, or just involuntary movements. My kriyas would primarily happen when I'm asleep, because then there's no resistance and the energy can just work through the body. But my arm would just raise, or I would just sit up in the middle of my sleep. It was just, let me say, it's weird. Yeah. And so it's almost like something else is in you, but it's all you. It's all you. It's all your energy. You may hear noises like knocking sounds, or some type of animal sound, or maybe even voices. You know what I'm saying? A voice might wake you up, or you might hear a bird sound, or even sometimes some mantras of some sort, like or you might hear some type of mantra of some sort in your dreams, or even in your waking state. You can hear your name being called. It's just, this is part of the process. Yes. This is what makes Kundalini so difficult. There, of course, insomnia is a big one, where you can't sleep. You may have something like a spontaneous orgasm, or you may have spontaneous sexual arousal, and you can actually feel the energy in your in your genitals, where the energy is moving. It feels like someone is actually touching you. Now this energy is all you, but it can really freak a person out, because it feels like something else is in you, something outside of you is in you, but it's all your energy. So you can have really bad migraine headaches when Kundalini starts going through the crown chakra. Also, you can have diet changes, like all of a sudden you don't want to eat meat, or all you want is meat, and so when this, you can tell where Kundalini is at by how your diet changes. And so if you really just, all you want is meat, it's in the lower chakras where, you need to be grounded. And then when it's all you want is blueberries and smoothies, it's in the higher chakras, working through the heart, the head, the crown. Yes. And so these are some of the things that can happen. Kundalini can mimic illness. Yeah, so one might think they're sick, but they're not. It's just this Kundalini that's going through the body, and they can be misdiagnosed during this time, especially during the West. A lot of the people that you see on the corners that are walking around talking to themselves, these people have had spontaneous Kundalini awakenings, and there's no help. They get diagnosed with things like bipolar, schizophrenic, things of that sort. Now, I'm not saying these things don't exist, like bipolar, schizophrenia, personality disorders, all that stuff does exist. But the Western medical system does not have the capacity to recognize the difference between these serious mental health issues and this powerful spiritual awakening. And so a lot of times people can get misdiagnosed. Like I said, the DSM-5 is recognizing what they refer to as spiritual emergencies. So they are starting to recognize that there is something connected with spirituality and psychosis. Yeah. So emotionally, some of the things that can happen are that one can have racing thoughts. Your thoughts are all over the place. Yeah. You can start getting these visions of certain things that could change your life as far as goals are concerned, because you start getting these creative ideas on what the process is next. Emotionally, also, one can feel like the walls are closing in on them wherever they're at. So they have this strong desire to be in nature, to be free of everything, to be free of social media, to be free of paying bills, to be free of conducting business, to be free of all that. They just have this desire to get away from it all and just connect with nature. Other things that can happen is that you can jump timelines. You can be here 1 minute, and then just like that, it feels like time has passed and you're someplace else, although you're still in the same place. But spiritually, you have jumped a timeline. You're somewhere else. You've elevated to something else. Yeah. And sometimes it's not elevating on the higher level. Sometimes you can go into the darkness of the underworld. It's like you jumped a timeline. Well, there's work that needs to be done on that timeline, and spirit doesn't have time to, you have someplace to be, you got something to do. Yeah. And so Kundalini will speed it up or bring you back and say, okay, work on this here. And then it'll speed it up, You may have visions in your waking life. You may see something, visions, and especially in your dream state, you can have visions. Yeah. Visions of what to do next. Or you all of a sudden have this desire. You feel like you're calling, like something is calling you, that you have to go do it. Yeah. You have to go do it. Now I'm going to come back to that. Now you can also have these euphoric feelings, like you start seeing things, like something as simple as a butterfly flying by can cause you to cry, or a field full of bluebonnets can cause you emotional crying, or you're just really, really connected to nature. You really feel like that everything is one, right? Now we're talking about the ebb and flow. Now, if this could be the way you felt all the time, that would be absolutely beautiful, but that's not the case. Yeah. You have your ups and downs, your chaos and your calm. Yeah. Your light and your darkness. It's an ebb and flow, right? So spiritually, one can have these deep states of consciousness, as I was saying, like they can realize that the snake is no different from the eagle. Yeah, that black is no different from white, or that we're all really connected, that we are really one, that we are all human beings living this human experience. We're all spiritual beings living this human experience here, and that we've chose to come back together. And so you start to realize these things. So you start releasing a lot of stuff like hate or discrimination, or seeing, superiority. You start releasing the ego. Yeah, you start releasing the ego, and you realize that we're all one. Yeah. And that can be a bit of awakening for people who have suffered with stuff like racism and things of that sort, to all of a sudden come to the conclusion that race is an illusion. Yeah. So, also spiritually, one might feel, they might have sudden insights or sudden spiritual truths, for example, for me, as I had my Kundalini, it started like in 2015, before I even got out of the military, and then 2018 it was catapulted, it sped up, because I'd been working with plant medicine, and all of a sudden I just went through the whole Kundalini process of spontaneous awakening. But it kind of slowed down, and I didn't think about it anymore. Although it was still working on me, because I was still kind of on autopilot with my calling, but it slowed down. Then all of a sudden something happened where my heart was tremendously broken, and Kundalini was like, oh, I see an opportunity to get through, because that heart was like a brick, honey. Ain't nothing getting through there. But when my heart was broken, Kundalini saw an opportunity to come through. And when it came through, I thought, oh my God, what's happening? Not again. It was the ebb and flow that I wasn't aware of at the time. I thought the Kundalini awakening was over. That was it. But no, not by far. Right? And so I was like, oh my God, what's happening? All of a sudden I had this spiritual insight, the spiritual truth, as clear as day. Kundalini is not starting over. It's continuing. And I was like, oh, so this is a continuation. It never stopped. And just as clear as day, I heard, right, exactly. Yes, it never stopped. This is a continuation. Which in some ways it was a relief to hear that, because I just knew I couldn't go through what I had already been through again. And so it was a continuation, which was just as powerful and just as intense as the initial awakening of Kundalini, yeah? It just had more to do with the heart and the third eye and the crown and all of these things. So this Kundalini awakening can cause serious disruptions in a person's life. So a person can lose interest in their worldly goals. So my Kundalini awakening, I had a spiritual business. It was a beautiful metaphysics shop. But I just, it wasn't the shop. The walls were closing in on me. But the people coming in, I felt like that I could do more, that I could do something better for the people in their healing journey. And I just had to, I walked away from my business that I had invested, invested all of my savings in that business, and I just walked away. It was like this something else was pulling me, that I needed to go to whatever that something else was. And so disruptions like that can happen, where you can just drop everything. You can just get rid of everything. You can leave everything behind and just go. I drove for 3 months straight. I just drove, no destination. But in my driving, I was working with Kundalini. A lot of my shadows were coming up in that driving. And so disruptions such as that can happen. And if you can imagine, if one is married with children and a business and things of that sort, that relationships change. One can lose everything because no one understands, or no one overstands you, or everyone understands you. They don't know what's going on. They're like, oh, you're crazy. Something's happening there. You're losing it. Yeah. And so, and you can feel like that because if you're not aware of what's happening to your body. This is why Kundalini needs to be taught more here in America, North America, because people get diagnosed with all types of crazy things. Yeah. And so this is the ebb and flow. Some of these things can come up throughout your process. All these things that I spoke about can come up again. Yeah. And so you need to be aware of what, of what's happening. Your life calling. You get a download of what your life calling is, or your spirit just knows what you're supposed to do next, and nothing will stop you. Nothing will stop you when you're in alignment with what spirit has for you, with what your calling is, what you come back to do in this realm. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but nothing will stop you when Kundalini is activated. So Kundalini going through the chakra systems. Remember at the beginning, I said we hold our trauma in our chakra systems. And so when Kundalini starts going through those nadis, connecting to those chakras, and it starts awakening and winding up the chakras, it's almost like, this is the way I describe it because this was my experience. You know those things where they drill into concrete? It's like, it's like that. But it's coming up the chakras and it's just breaking up all the trauma that the individual has been through. It needs to move that out of the way so that you can focus on what you've come back to do. Yeah, but Kundalini has to first heal you. Now, there's only so much that a person can take. So Kundalini will reside. It will just kind of calm down. Yeah, and you think, ooh, it's over. I'm back normal. I'm a normal human being again. And then something may happen to break your heart, or something may happen to, you may go through an intense yoga experience, or you may have an intense sexual encounter, or you may work with plant medicine. Anything that you might do, something may happen that activates it again, and it'll start again. And so, and knowing what these symptoms are and how it feels, you can remember, oh, this is Kundalini. Yeah, she's awakened again. And so now you have to integrate that. You have these Kundalini awakenings that constantly have to be integrated. And you can integrate those things through yoga. Yeah. She's going to activate, and this could possibly be a lifetime process. Like, it never stops. And so, in knowing the symptoms and being in tune with your body and knowing what's happening, when Kundalini resides, when she kind of pulls back and she just kind of lies dormant, and then when she activates again, basically you're going through another transformation. She's transforming you. Yeah. Kundalini is our ally in this walking life. Kundalini is our ally in this 3D realm. She leads us, she guides us, and she directs us on our spiritual path, on what we've come back to do. And more and more and more and more people are having Kundalini awakenings. Yes. So drop a comment down there. Let me know if you're in the process of a Kundalini awakening. Yeah. And so these are the ebb and flows. It can lie dormant, then it can rise again. It can lie dormant, it can rise again. And having the tools by your side when it starts rising again. Yeah. Yoga, meditation, grounding, nature. Stay within yourself. Know that Kundalini is doing what she's come back to do, and know for a fact that you signed up for it. Yes. And you have been chosen by Kundalini. And so she's healing you. And it's not always comfortable. As we know, healing is not always comfortable. Yes. So here on Closing the Gap, we speak about spiritual healing, how one can heal the spirit, their emotions, right? And how one can get over their traumas. Kundalini is here to do that work with you and for you. Yeah. And so several people are having Kundalini awakenings. A lot of people had Kundalini awakenings during COVID. Yeah. So that was the beginning phase of people awakening. You'll hear people say, I had my Kundalini awaken 2017, 2018. They'll start talking about that. But some of us started our Kundalini awakening in 2015, 2014. Sometimes that's when mine originally started, when I started awakening to my spiritual calling. Yeah. So, these are the ups and downs, the ebbs and flow of Kundalini. Like I said, if you've had a Kundalini awakening, if you're going through something like this, drop a comment down below and I'll see if I can assist you in giving you some guidance on which way to go. Thank you for tuning into my channel, Closing the Gap. We make a conscious effort to meet you where you're at on your healing and your spiritual journey. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, ring the bell button so that you know when I upload. A side note, I started doing tarot and astrological readings. I'm starting a new channel, which is called Light Feather Tarot. So if you're interested in tarot readings and astrology, astrological tarot readings, please go over and like and subscribe to Light Feather Tarot. Yeah, I'll drop it down in the comments for those who are interested. Thank you for tuning in. You guys have a good day, and we'll see you next time.